default judgment allows a plaintiff to obtain judgment without a contested hearing when a defendant fails to file a notice of intention to defend and a defense within the required time. But it is not simply an automatic victory because the court must still be satisfied that the legal requirements for judgment have been met. In Queensland, a defendant who has been properly served with a claim and statement of claim generally has 28 days to file a notice of intention to defend a defense. If no defense is filed within that period, the plaintiff may apply for default judgment under the UCPR. However, the registrar or court must still consider whether the procedural requirements have been satisfied, including proper service, jurisdiction, and whether the relief sought is appropriate in the circumstances. A common misconception is that once the defendant fails to respond, every allegation in the claim is automatically accepted without question. In reality, while the absence of a defense places the defendant in a significant disadvantage, the court still expects the plaintiff pleadings to disclose a proper legal course of action, and the judgment sought must be supported by the applicable court rules. Defective pleadings or procedural errors can still prevent default judgment from being entered. Obtaining default judgment is often only the first stage of the process. If the defendant does not voluntarily comply with the judgment, the plaintiff may still need to commence enforcement proceedings to recover the debt or enforce the court's orders. Depending on the circumstances, this may involve enforcement warrants, enforcement hearings, statutory demands against companies, or bankruptcy notices against individuals. A judgment itself does not guarantee payment. Defendants should also be aware that ignoring court documents rarely makes the problem disappear. Although a default judgment can sometimes be set aside, the court will generally consider factors such as whether there is a reasonable explanation for failing to defend the proceeding, whether there's an arguable defense with real prospects of success, and whether the application to set aside the judgment has been made promptly. Delays in responding can significantly reduce the likelihood of obtaining that relief. Because default judgments can lead to significant financial consequences and powerful enforcement options, both plaintiffs and defendants should understand that strict procedural rules apply throughout the process. Acting promptly, complying with the court's requirements, and taking appropriate legal steps before judgment is entered will usually provide the best opportunity to protect your legal position and avoid unnecessary costs or enforcement action. Contact us today for a free 30-minute consultation with one of our experienced team of commercial litigation professionals and let us help you protect your rights.